All right, when you hear the words mad scientist, who pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's gotta be Nikola Tesla, right? Well, today we're diving deep into his most controversial, most mysterious final project. We're talking about a weapon so powerful, it promised to end all war. But here's the million-dollar question. Was it even real?
Okay, so picture this. It's 1943. The world is literally on fire with World War II, and out of nowhere, the FBI becomes obsessed with the belongings of an 86-year-old inventor who just died alone in a hotel room. It sounds like the start of a spy thriller, doesn't it? So why all the fuss? What secret did they think this old man was hiding?
So let's break it down. Throughout the 1930s, Tesla's talking up this revolutionary defensive weapon. Fast forward to January 7th, 1943, he passes away in the New Yorker hotel. And then get this, just 2 days later, the Office of Alien Property swoops in and seizes every last piece of paper he owned. You can just feel the panic, right? They were moving fast. All right, so to understand that urgency, we have to look at what happened right after Tesla died, and the incredible secret the government thought he was sitting on.
So here's the situation on the ground. Nikola Tesla, age 86, is found deceased in room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker. And I mean, almost instantly, the FBI gives the order, grab everything, every note, every schematic. The reason? Pure fear. They were terrified that plans for a world-changing superweapon could fall right into enemy hands. We're talking the Axis powers here. The stakes couldn't have been higher.
So what was this supposed superweapon that had the government in such a panic? Well, in the public's mind, it had a name straight out of a comic book, which brings us to the myth of the death ray. I mean, we've all heard of the death ray, haven't we? It's pure science fiction. This idea of a beam that could just zap armies and planes out of existence from miles and miles away. It's the kind of thing you'd read about in a pulp novel, but people were taking it seriously. It totally captured the imagination of the public. And hey, just a quick pause. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, share and like my videos. The information in this explainer has been compiled from open sources. Thank you so much. Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn. That whole death ray thing, that was the media. Tesla himself, well, he had a very different vision. Let's get into what he actually called Teleforce. This is one of the first things that jumped out at me. Tesla absolutely hated the term death ray. He thought it was sensationalist garbage. His name for it was Teleforce. And get this, he didn't see it as an offensive weapon at all. For him, it was a purely defensive system. He called it a peace beam, designed to make war literally impossible by creating an invisible wall around a country. Now, don't get me wrong. His idea of a peace beam was anything but gentle. Listen to this quote from 1934. "My apparatus projects particles which will bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy airplanes and will cause armies of millions to drop dead in their tracks." I mean, wow. It's basically an early draft of the whole mutually assured destruction idea. You build a defense so terrifying that nobody would ever even think about attacking you. So what exactly was this thing? What was the tech? Well, first off, it wasn't a laser. Lasers weren't even a thing yet. No, this was a particle beam accelerator. The idea was to take microscopic particles, something like tungsten or mercury, and use millions of volts to shoot them forward at just insane speeds. So the process was basically this. First, generate a mind-boggling amount of electrostatic voltage. Second, use that power to accelerate those tiny charged particles inside a giant vacuum tube. And third, shoot that beam out into the open air. Tesla insisted the beam would stay as thin as a string and wouldn't just spread out in the atmosphere. And that was the big problem. Which leads us right to the heart of the mystery. Genius? Bluff? Or maybe a little bit of both? Was this a real, workable design, or just the last big gamble of a desperate genius? Okay, let's look at the evidence. In the reasons to believe column, you've got Tesla's proven genius. This is the man who gave us AC power. He had a knack for publicity, and we have documents showing the Soviet Union's trading corporation, Amtorg, was interested enough to give him some cash. But in the reasons for doubt column, you have pretty much every physicist at the time saying a particle beam would just dissipate in the air. Plus, let's be honest, Tesla was elderly, he needed money, and he loved making a splash. And really, it all comes down to this one number, 250 miles. That's the range Tesla claimed for his weapon. The idea of shooting a concentrated beam of particles that far through our atmosphere without it just scattering into nothing, well, physicists back then said it was impossible. And frankly, they still do today. That's the real sticking. So let's jump back to 1943. The government has all of Tesla's files. Now they just need to figure out what they've got. Let's talk about the official verdict and the legacy of this whole affair. All right, so the person they brought in to analyze all these seized papers was a brilliant MIT professor named Dr. John G. Trump. And yes, just as a little historical footnote, he was indeed the uncle of a future U.S. president, Donald Trump. His job was simple: figure out if this Teleforce weapon was fact or fiction. And after digging through everything, Trump's official report came back, and the verdict was pretty much a bust. He wrote that there were no scientific notes or actual apparatus which could be of significant value to this country or which constitute a hazard in unfriendly hands. In other words, it was all just speculation. He found ideas, but no blueprints, no working device. But you know that's not where the story ends, right? An official government report saying nothing to see here? For many, that's just proof of a cover-up. The idea of Tesla's lost files took root. And to this day, conspiracy theories about a secret hidden weapon are still going strong. And you know, this might be the real legacy of Teleforce. Sure, the machine itself was never built, but the idea of an electrical defense shield protecting a nation, that was powerful. You see echoes of it decades later, during the Cold War, with fears of a Soviet death beam gap. And then in the 1980s, you get the Star Wars program, the Strategic Defense Initiative, which is basically Tesla's core concept brought into the modern era. So when you boil it all down, maybe it doesn't even matter if Teleforce could have worked. It leaves us with this really cool thought to chew on. Was Tesla's greatest invention the actual machine? Or was it the future he made all of us imagine? Whether it was realistic or not, he pushed the boundaries of what we thought was possible. And that's a legacy that's hard to beat.